It's great to see you.
How are you doing?
I'm really good, Alex. How are you?
I'm okay, I think. I'm alive. I'm
Well,
awake.
yeah, I should be asking how are you, right? I think everybody should be
You've
asking how are you after
you've had
21 hours.
you've definitely had tougher crowds. You're all right. Don't worry. I'm here.
I
I'm
have,
here.
yeah.
So I kind of teed us up a little bit. I thought the conversation we had the other day. I think there's a lot of opportunity. You've got so much experience across different things, especially when we were talking about like retreats and things like that. That different people that you've worked with, or different organisations that you've supported, and roles that you've played. Could you give us a bit of an intro into Barbara, the how you became a comedian, and some of the experiences that you've had, and I'll let you kind of take that where you want to take that.
Okay, so yeah, I'll just choose the bits that I think might be relevant to people listening because there are a lot of bits that I could share, but um, let's see. So I have quite a mixed background, but I started several businesses because when my kids were small, this was a while ago though, so this was like yeah, in the very early 2000s when it was still relatively new to want to work from home, you know. So I tried different businesses there, and then in the course of that, I met lots and lots of entrepreneurs, and I attended a lot of online trainings, and I discovered that um, I love hearing about other people's businesses. I love thinking about, oh, how can this, you know, how could this business work? How could we market this? How could we market that? Like even though I've never had um, any formal training in marketing, I've just always loved marketing. I used to work for marketing companies as an assistant and stuff when I lived in Paris, um, but anyway, I didn't, yeah, without formal marketing training, I still really loved it and found it fascinating. So I really enjoy um, the the vibe of like talking to people who have startups or who are helping other people with startups because everybody's like super creative, right? So that's the entrepreneurial bit. Lots of different businesses there, and then on the other side, with getting into comedy, let's see, over lockdown, I was presented with an opportunity to use my video presenting skills because I have a theater background. So I have an acting degree. Yay! Like really useful for well, it is useful. I'm discovering it's actually very useful. Yeah, my parents wouldn't agree, but it is really useful.
Oh,
Public
really?
speaking
In what way?
because they wanted, you know, they thought, oh, you can't really get a decent job as an actor and blah blah blah. So but I'm, you know, I see much later on that actually um, there are a lot of advantages to being to spending a lot of time on stage and improvising, and like I did improv comedy like in terms of theater and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that kind of creativity as well. It's just a different kind of creativity. And then what I'm discovering is useful with that with business is that you know, you're quite used to public speaking. You know, I'm not thrown in front of a crowd. I actually really love it. Although I wouldn't have said that when I started comedy because comedy was way scarier, which is one of the reasons why I started it. I was actually yeah, over lockdown I was doing some video presenting for a weekly live stream on mental health. And we were supporting young people who, you know, there were loads of young people like all over the world who were trapped in these dorm rooms and, you know, just really struggling. So we wanted to give them some practical tools to manage their emotions and their mental health. So we did weekly live streams on that. And anyway, like, so that was fun. And while we were doing that, I was telling somebody, I was telling one of the other volunteers just like stories about my life, like weird things that happened to me when I lived in Paris. And I was telling her these stories, and she was like, "You should do comedy." And then I was like, "Oh, funny you say that," because I thought about doing comedy at uni, but like I can't remember any jokes. Like you know how you have those people at a party who they're the life of the party and they tell loads of jokes, and you know, and I would listen to the jokes and laugh, but then you know, if you asked me any of them the next day, I wouldn't remember, right? So I just assumed in my head, you know, age 22 or something, oh, I can't do it, right? And then I just kind of, I don't know if you have things like that or people listening, I'm sure that you have something like that where you know, you wanted to do something and then you just kind of dismissed it and then buried it and then didn't think about it for years and years, or in my case, years and years and years and years. Anyway, so, and then I went into theater and then I went into singing and did a bunch of other stuff. So, but I've always loved being funny or trying to be funny anyway. And I had somebody else the next day say to me, "Oh, you should do comedy," and I was like, "Okay, this is 2 people in 2 days, so clearly this means something." So at the end of lockdown, I signed up to a comedy course because I had a friend that did a comedy course. Like she did it about 3 years ago, and it was weird because even though I went to see her gigs, I never thought for a second, "Oh, I want to do that," because I just assumed I couldn't. But because I wanted to do something new, something scary, I thought, well, in terms of personal development, stand-up comedy is just about as scary as you can get because, public speaking for me isn't an issue, singing isn't an issue, acting isn't an issue, but comedy, yes. So I did the course, and then yeah, that's how I got into comedy. And then the teacher, Logan Murray, he was like, we had a showcase at the end of the course. We invited friends and family. I invited no one because I was sure that it was just going to be awful, but my kids found out and they came anyway, which is good because it actually went really well. But he was like, book some gigs before the showcase, because once you do the showcase, you're going to wish you had some gigs booked. So I listened to him. I thought I can always cancel, So I booked some gigs, and then, well, yeah, now I've done this was in July, and now I've done about 65 gigs since then.
Wow, well done. Well
Thank
done.
you. Yeah, I'm kind of going crazy at it.
That's phenomenal. I think I saw it. I think I said to you, didn't I? It was end of December or something. I saw a post. I just saw all of these. I was like, yes, there's Barbara. She's on it.
I'm all over the place. Yeah. Well, because now, like, I finally feel like it's taken me a long time, but I finally feel like I'm in my element doing what I was meant to do. And I mean, I'm not getting paid for it at the moment. Well, I'm starting to. I'm just starting to get paid gigs, but that's not the point. When they say, "Oh, do what you love and the money will come," and I used to hear that and just want to scream. I just thought, get really irritated. So I kind of feel like I fell into comedy, and yet it feels like it's where I'm supposed to be.
So the do what you love and get paid may be a thing. So I there's a great quote by a guy, one of my favorite authors. He's don't sign up to his newsletters. It's not as good as his book, but he said about the whole follow your passion and everything will kind of be. So he said, well, my passion is eating pizza and laying in bed with the opposite sex. Is someone going to pay me for that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think the caveat to that, I think the secret to that, I think the reason, this works for me is because comedy is the thing that I wanted to do, but it really scared me. So I just assumed I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But in my heart of hearts, I really wanted to do it. And
this is your icky guy. This is your icky guy. You heard
icky
the icky guy? Oh yeah. Come on, coaches, back me up. You watch it. You wait. You carry on. Sorry, they'll come back to the icky guy.
That's okay. But yeah, now I feel like everything is coming together because, and also like to promote yourself as a comedian, like you need to use social media and all that stuff. And I learned how to do that when I had a previous business. So, and then I'm using my singing and comedy, because in comedy you can do anything, which is what I love about it, right? You can just like sit on the stage and pretend to be a toad if you want, I mean, I don't pretend to be a toad, but you couldn't you, right? But what I do is I tend to just like burst into song at random moments, which of course aren't so random. But it means I can use my singing, I can use my I can use my acting stuff, I can just be silly, and I can laugh, and I can be around other people who are creative and who love to laugh. And I found that that's the link with mental health, is that I really struggled a lot last year, a lot. I've spoken about that elsewhere, but because I have borderline personality disorder, which is quite a serious mental health illness, which is where your emotional thermostat is busted. So everything you feel is like really extreme. So when I talk about that in my gig, in fact, I wrote a song about it, and then a comedy song, which I perform, and it's really cool because like now, like people, I'm kind of educating people sideways. Like I sing this song and they want to sing along and they're clapping and stuff. And it's really funny because I'm singing this song about this very serious, mental health thing.
Yeah.
But because I'm laughing about it, it gives them permission to laugh about it. And then what I noticed, and this is the bit that I wanted, people to know, is that I just found that, well, how there was that post recently about someone said, oh, the NHS is thinking about prescribing comedy for mental health. And then I read the post and I was like, oh, okay, well, they're going to prescribe. They've picked 2 comedians and they're going to, I don't know, prescribe them to people. But what I would say to people is just go to comedy gigs. And there are loads and loads and loads of free, open mic nights.
And they're
free
great night
attend.
out, such a great night out. And it's like and you just never know what you're going to get, right?
Yeah. And it's really effective. Like I found for me personally, like when there was a time when I was really lonely and I was like, oh, I had just moved to London and I was really struggling. It was a lifesaver, literally. So I would go to gigs like, a couple times a week. I mean, now I find myself, doing them, but people are like, oh, you do so many gigs, aren't you tired? And I'm like, no, because it feeds me. So now I'm in a completely different place. It's just completely turned things around. And if I'd known about it sooner, I would have done comedy sooner. But I mean, everything has a reason, I like to believe. But I do wanted to put that out there that there's loads of free comedy, like, all over the world. There are open mic nights, there's loads in Berlin, there's loads in the States, there's loads in Ireland, there's loads here, there's just all over. So, before people before people struggle trying to find, treatment that works, because through the NHS, there's long waiting lists. I mean, don't get me started about the mental health crisis in the NHS. It's horrible. But in the meantime, I'm not saying comedy is going to cure anybody, but it certainly helped me loads and loads at a time when I was, just really, struggling quite a lot.
That's great. That's amazing. Well done.
Watching it as well as doing it, right? So you don't have to do comedy in order to feel like comedy can benefit your mental health, right? So
yeah. No, that's awesome. That's no, well done. That's amazing, Barbara. That's such an amazing realization in life. What a wonderful journey you've been on.
Huge. Yeah, this is the first. I mean, I'm 59, right? So this is
no.
Yeah, I know people don't believe me, but never too late. But I mention it because there might be other people who are thinking, oh, it's too late to start comedy, or oh, it's too late to start theater, or oh, it's too late to follow this dream or that dream. Well, no, like this is literally the first time in my whole life where I feel like I'm in the right place and doing the right thing. And it's just taken me a long time, but I never gave up, because like giving up would be just miserable. Why am I gonna do that, right?
What's the network like within that kind of with the comedy circle? Yeah. So what sort of conversations are you having? What's that network like? Because obviously like you said, you've embedded yourself in hospitality and events, in entrepreneurship, all these different. I'm intrigued by what their mindset. I don't want to generalize, but
Well, I mean, I could generalize enough to say that, like, oh yeah, I'd never thought about this parallel before. This is really cool, actually. There's quite a lot in common with the entrepreneur community, because you've got. This is what I find, especially with comedians at where I'm at now, because now I'm on the open mic circuit, where the other comedians that I do gigs with, like, well, now it's kind of changing because I'm sort of making my way up the ladder or whatever, slowly but surely. But on the open mic circuit, like most people have, they have a day job or something, and so they really are doing comedy, because they love it, and they're quite they're creative, very open-minded, really up for stuff, and it's so easy to make friends. And I thought like there was something wrong with me because I thought, why am I struggling to make friends? Like this was something that I, struggled with for years, really. And yet in comedy, it's kind of like people take you as you are, because you've got if you think about it, you've got a whole bunch of people who are telling crowds of strangers about things that they feel vulnerable about, like things that, like one of my friends, for example, he's, I don't know, he'll go on stage and he doesn't, he'll say, I know. His way of saying that he's, I don't know how to put this. Like, we point out our faults, let's put it that way. Not our faults, but things that people would notice about us, right? So, for example, one of my friends who's overweight, he would be like, yep, the eye candy's here, and just kind of like everybody's laughing at themselves and giving you permission to laugh too. So that to me, creates a pretty open-minded community. And at least at the moment, like, I mean, I'm sure it's very different in TV and at the higher echelons of comedy or whatever. I don't know. I'm not there yet, but where I am, it's really friendly. It's very supportive. Comedians tell each other where good places are to gig. They'll be like, oh yeah, try this gig, or oh, you should try this. Have you tried this open mic
night? That's nice.
because we're not like competing directly with each other because we're all so different. And even in comedy competitions, like I'm involved in a couple of those at the moment, and the competitions are really fun. Like even though it's a competition, it's not like cutthroat. Nobody's going to cheer for anybody else. I mean, like I say, maybe that's different at the upper levels or something. I don't know, maybe not, but at least for me, yeah, it's a really really positive experience. And I have to say, like, I mean, I've been in the theater world, it was not quite like that. And I've been in the music world, it was not quite like that either. I mean, in the music world, I had a record producer and all that stuff, and we did professional photos, and she went around to, get my record produced, blah, blah, blah. But I was age 28, and some people were telling me, oh, you're too old, you're too fat. And I mean, I'm not, I mean, my chest is big, but,
brutal,
too fat at age, size 14, 16. Anyway, it doesn't matter how much you weigh. It matters if you can sing, right? But
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so those communities are quite different. And in fact, that's why I didn't continue in the music industry, because I found it really, I love singing, but I don't like the look at me kind of aspect of it. So yeah, they're creative like entrepreneurs, which is very cool.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
It is, right?
That's
and
nice.
I've never seen the parallel before, so thank you.
Well, there we go. We've opened up another conversation. I think it's just intriguing. Yeah. I see a lot of there's a guy I follow. I learned a lot from as an entrepreneur. There's a guy called Shyam Puri. He's got a wonderful podcast called My First Million. I went on a course with him recently. It's brilliant, and he's actually just taken up comedy as a self because he wants to improve his presence. He wants to improve his storytelling ability. He wants to improve his confidence in meetings. He just sees
that's
comedy.
The way to do it.
But that's the thing, isn't it? He said he's just like, he sees comedy as a great route to that end destination. And it seems like it's separate from what the stories you're telling us is. What a wonderful route to learn about yourself.
Oh yeah, and the thing about comedy is that he's very smart, because he's going right for the most difficult thing. Because, I mean, I know that public speaking for most people is absolutely horrible. They'd rather die, right? But but comedy is somehow even worse. Like it's even scarier, because you're not given a script. Like with acting, I had a script. With singing, I had a song, and I knew what the result would be. And even if the result wasn't quite what I wanted, I couldn't say, oh, it's all my fault. It wasn't on me, right? It was just, oh, that's the script, or oh, that's the song. It's not their style of music or whatever. But with comedy, it's literally like you and the audience, and you don't have the fourth wall thing like we do in theater. There's no barrier between you and the audience. On the contrary, you're not looking just above people's heads and pretending they're naked and all that stuff, so you don't feel nervous. You are engaging with them and reacting to how they react. And it's very, in fact, I had a gig last night where I felt like the set that I did, it went the best it's ever gone. It was so cool. And I felt, it's going to sound really cheesy, but I'm going to say it anyway. It really did feel like I was getting love vibes from, the audience.
Nice.
I mean, they don't know me, but I'm opening myself up, I'm showing things about myself, and they're laughing. And so it kind of felt like we were doing it together, because I was saying stuff and they were laughing, and then because they were laughing, like that was feeding into what I was doing. So then I was even more I'm already pretty high energy as a comedian, but I was even more high energy, and then they were laughing even more because I was even more crazy. And so it kind of just, because my brand, if you like, is batshit crazy stand up. So,
really?
Yeah. Musical batshit crazy stand up. Yeah.
That's awesome. But you said it earlier. You said that you get energy from others. That's basically I think there's
way, not energy vampire.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, you're not the drain. It's it's just
no, it's like a spiral.
Exactly, that's the point, right? But that's where I can imagine that environment. It's usually there's probably more than two types of people in this situation. There may be something in the middle, but just for black and white's sake, there are people that take energy. There are people that get energy from people, and that some people will be in a situation like that, and they will just lose energy because it costs them a lot in energy to put that out. Whereas if you're
and I understand that. Yeah, that's valid. Yeah.
So if you're in a room like that where everyone wants the energy, then it's just cycling around the room. I can imagine it's euphoric.
Well, yeah, and also like I mean, to be honest, like it doesn't mean that. What am I trying to say? It's easier for me to do that than it is to go to a party. Like if I go to a party, I would find it more draining because
Really?
oh yeah, because I have to just kind of yeah, I just have to like be myself and meet people and focus on people and listen to them carefully and yeah, after a while I mean even after gigs as well, I'm just like, oh, I need to be by myself now. So like, on stage I'm like blah, 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 blah. And then as soon as I, stop and then I go and sit down, like I'm kind of quiet, but
Mm.
it kind of depends who I'm with
I
really. But
understand that. No, I
yeah,
understand that. You won't see me for at least 2 days after this. I mean, this is a bit.
I'll bet. Well, this is a bit
Yeah,
extreme,
but
right?
even then, like Christine will tell you, like if I do have a talk to do, I do quite a lot of like, but when I try to avoid it if I can help it, but I do some public speaking and stuff, and we do a lot of stuff in schools, and it really like messes me up. I crash hard afterwards.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
crash
whereas
really
me,
hard.
that would energize me. The messing up bit would be like the socializing bit afterwards. I would do it and I'd be happy doing it and I would enjoy it, but then I would come away like, okay, I need to, because I have the extrovert and the introvert. It kind of flips back
Yeah.
and forth. But also like a lot of people that do comedy have some kind of either mental or physical thing. So, it's very much the community of none of us are perfect and we know it and we laugh about it, right? Like some of my friends have cerebral palsy. Some of them have, I don't know, Tourette's. Some of them have ADHD. Some of them just have like boyfriend issues or something. So it's really cool because like we learn about all these different things and everyone's perspective on the same situation is really, really different. You could give one situation to 10 comedians and get 10 different, approaches to it, which is really cool.
Well, wonderful, wonderful thing you do. I think we have to get. So I know you're already speaking to Charlie about this,
Yep.
and you're over in Cambridge on the
On
20th.
Thursday, yes, on the 20th. Come and see me. Yep, at the Tram
So
Depot.
at the tram depot. So we will come
Yep.
and see you. So I'm in Cambridge on Thursday. So I'll see you when you pop over to the souk in the afternoon if you can.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I've got it in my diary. 5 p.m. at the souk. Yep, I'm coming.
Awesome, because I think we can explore this subject further, and I think it makes for we've seen already. Um, the pandemic's taught me one thing as an event organizer and as someone who has this community. We need more creativity in the way that we bring people together and create opportunities for people to expand their network. And I think there's definitely some fun to be had
Oh
with the
yeah.
comedy and entrepreneurship and how we can actually play on that a bit further.
Yep, I'm gonna be up for that. Yep. As you
Was not.
know, yeah.
Always, always. Well, look, Barbara, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you that question, which is what is it in 2022 that you are most excited for?
Um, yeah, to be honest, I am most excited for, well, doing more comedy, but also I'm most excited for finding, because I've been thinking about it, finding out how or creating how we can bring more comedy slash, entertainment to the business world, because that's just like nobody's really doing that. Some people, and to some level, in individual companies, but no one's really doing that. So I love the idea of um, having business conferences that that have the comedy side or that have the music side and all of that. So just that whole interface, I think, is going to be really fun.
I am very glad you said that. There's that. I think business entertainment's a new category that is
Yeah,
barely represented.
yeah,
Like we need to be entertained, Joe, while we're learning this business stuff.
yep, yep, yep. And it's
Especially
so easy to do if you know how. Yeah,
exactly, exactly. If you tie that together, yeah, I think we're gonna have some fun. You got some
yep.
love in here. Yeah, oh,
Yay!
it was Icky Guy. I told you. I said Icky Guy. Did I mention I
Yeah,
left
and
school early?
I heard like icky, like gross. We would say in the States, like icky. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Um, and just some love in here. Look, brilliant to hear what you're doing, Barbara.
Oh, thank
Good to
you,
see you
Nicola.
again. I'm getting a load of abuse. Apparently, I'm selling me eating pizza in bed on OnlyFans. Apparently, this is my last guest. This is our well-respected mayor telling me about this, and some absolute glorious love from Evelyn as well. Look.
Oh, thank you.
Here's a wonderful
Evelyn.
story, and I think anyone who says they can't follow suit, because here is a 49-year-old.
59-year-old.
I know. Here is a 59-year-old inspirational woman that's decided now is her time, and I think that's just a wonderful way to live your life.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for having me. And yeah, if people have questions and stuff, just field them on somewhere and
stick them in the comments and
stick them in the comments. We'll see what we can do. Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll see you on Thursday. And if you're around in Cambridge, come for a drink. I'll be there.
Yep, come for a drink to the Tram Depot. Come have a drink.